Am I wrong for telling someone I would never let myself get as fat as her? I know how it sounds, but hear me out. I am 25 female, was at dinner with a group of 6 girls all around my age. I grew up with and I'm really close with 3 of the girls. I didn't know the other 2 very well, but they were close with my close friends. They all went to college together. We were eating at a nice dinner downtown in a city. Our table was up against the window, and a homeless woman approached the window and was obviously on something or mentally ill. She waved at us and was saying something we couldn't hear over the noise inside. Everyone just looked at each other, giggled, and ignored her. It was pretty chilly out and she looked cold. I got up and met her outside and handed her a couple of bucks and wished her well. When I got back to the table, one of the girls I didn't know that well, I'll call her Emily, said, "Who lets drugs take over their life? I would just never let myself get like that." I was fuming. I paused and looked at her. For some backstory, Emily is the heaviest girl in the group. We are all different body types. I'm not skinny. She is plus-sized. Also, I am a recovering addict. My brother was also a heroin addict and experienced homelessness at some point. He died of an overdose when I was 17. My family is full of addicts. I continued down the path and addiction had me in its grips. My friends at the table went to college. I went to rehab and got sober. I said, yeah, exactly. I would never let myself get over 200 pounds. Just put the fork down. Am I right? Everyone was silent. You could cut the tension with a knife. Emily looked at me, clearly upset, and explained how she had a thyroid issue and chronic fatigue syndrome. And for some people, it's really hard to lose weight. I said, well, maybe that woman has an issue that we don't know about. And I left some cash for my food and left. My friends I'm close to texted and said I was out of line and that Emily is super self-conscious. I feel bad for going low and hitting where it hurts, but I just wanted them to get some perspective. I don't think I owe Emily an apology before she apologizes. Am I the a-hole? I mean, y'all, I don't think OP necessarily needed to say all of that. She could have just simply said, oh, I don't think it's nice or kind to be making fun or judging a random person. You don't know their story. That alone would have embarrassed her, because you know when someone says something really rude and out of pocket that they literally have no business saying out loud in front of everybody, and they expect everyone to go with them, like you embarrassing them and telling them, hey, that's not funny, let's not say stuff like that, you don't know what that person is going through. That alone would have embarrassed her. But to say, oh, I would, girl, that's mean. Someone commented, I totally get it, but you could have nicely corrected her by saying, well, we don't know what people are going through. Having empathy goes a long way, rather than stooping just low as her. Going after her body was pretty low. I understand that you were personally triggered. However, that does not give you a right to go after someone else's looks. Someone else commented, the moment they laughed would have been my cue to go. Surrounding yourself with people like that is so exhausting. And then OP said, myself and another friend weren't laughing at the woman. I didn't make the comment solely to spite her. I made it to point out how ignorant and insensitive she was being, because I know the put down the fork statement that a lot of idiots make is ridiculous. I said it knowing it was ignorant to prove a point, but I get it, we both suck. I had a knee-jerk reaction, and I should have chose my words more kindly. I mean, even if you were trying to prove a point, the thing is now everybody's looking at you like you're the mean, malicious, like, one. They're not gonna look at what she said. Everybody's gonna forget that, because what she said was rude and disrespectful. But now everybody's looking at you, and then they're making what you said a bigger deal because it was more blunt. Plus, you're sitting right there. Because how much do you want to bet that if the woman, like the homeless lady, was in front of your friend or whatever this lady is to you, she wouldn't ask. People don't say crazy stuff like that in front of people majority of the time. They usually say behind people's backs. But anyways, like, I feel like OP could have just embarrassed the girl with that coming, like, to attack her. Then she would have been able to prove her point more. But now everybody's taking that away, like what the girl said away, and now everybody's focusing on what OP said, like, oh, you called her fat, you're being rude, you're being fatphobic, blah, blah, blah. No one is going to be looking at the fact that she's being rude and judging a homeless lady. But yeah, next story. Anyways, actually, we have an update 1 day later. Y'all are torn. Thank you for some of the honesty and some for the kind words. Update. I asked Emily for a coffee this morning to apologize. We met and I started off with saying I was sorry for making it personal and making a comment about her appearance, and I would be really hurt if someone did that to me. Then went in to explain how her comment about addiction being a choice is really uneducated and offensive. She said, thanks for apologizing, but my dad is alcoholic and he chose alcohol over my mom and I. I would just never do that. I tried to explain to her that her dad got to a point where he didn't have a choice anymore. He had a disease, and he probably felt shame every day. And I'm sorry that you didn't get what you needed as a kid or now. He probably didn't either, and that's why he found a way to cope, just like I did. She said she understands now and why she copes with food sometimes. I gave her props because food addiction can be so challenging because you can't just stop eating, unlike drugs where you don't even want to be around them. We thanked each other, we shared more stories, we remained friends and tried to connect more. Thank you, folks. Not her trying to still gaslight the girl about her own experience. Anyways, but yeah, good little update. Am I wrong for telling my daughter-in-law that I will never be her mother and to leave me alone? This is mostly about my daughter-in-law, Kat. Her mother ran out on her when she was a child, and she went into foster care. According to my son, she's currently seeing a therapist. My issue with Kat is that she has repeatedly stomped on my boundaries. She's a very touchy person. She refused to call me by my name and only refers to me as mom. I correct her every time since I'm not comfortable being called mom by her, and I want her to use my name. There have been multiple times where she asked me inappropriate questions, mostly about why I'm not close to my own mother. For context, my mother was horrible. Kat keeps pushing for details and insists I should get closer to her because family sticks together. She basically tells me to forgive my mom, and she doesn't understand not being close with one's parents. I've told her to drop the topic multiple times, and she refuses. Because of all of this, I'm not a huge fan of hers. I've spoken to my son about it, and he asked me to be more patient. I've also talked to Kat multiple times and asked her to respect my boundaries. She always says she will, but then goes right back to ignoring them. This is where I might be the jerk. My daughter Sam, 20, and I are taking a weekend trip. Sam has medical issue and needs to see a specialist a few states over. She hasn't disclosed the issue to the rest of the family yet. She plans to when she has a firm plan. Somehow, word about the trip got back to Kat, and she called me asking why she was invited. I told her it's an important trip and not a fun one. She accused me of lying and claiming it was a mother-daughter trip that she was excluded from. I told her again this is not a girls' trip. She wouldn't let it go and started demanding that she comes in, saying that she's my daughter and needs to be there. I said no again. She kept insisting, saying I am her mom and she has to come on this trip since it's my kid. That's when I snapped. I told her I will never be her mother. Just because she married my son does not make me her parent. I told her to leave me the F alone and that even if this was a mother-daughter trip, she still wouldn't be invited because she isn't my kid. I then hung up. Damn, okay. My son says I need to apologize and invite her, that I am being rude to her, that I was way out of line and need to make up to Kat. The situation has spread to the rest of the family, and everyone seems to have their own opinion. Sam is getting flack too, which isn't helping, especially since she doesn't want to disclose the reason for the trip yet. Am I being an a-hole and need to apologize even though those are my true feelings on her trying to make me her parent? I mean, I feel like this is why I highly hate when people have kids for the sake of having kids they can't handle, or when people have kids just because they can. Because when you abandon your child and you're a deadbeat parent, whether you're a mom or a father or a dad or whatever the hell you are, your kids, their childhood trauma follows them to adulthood. People think that you can just get rid of the things that literally condition you to be the way you are. Look at this poor lady. Now she's literally going through crisis because she never felt the love of a mother, and now some lady is really stomping on her heart. And yeah, OP's daughter-in-law is a grown adult now, and she needs to take responsibility for her childhood traumas. But there's only so much you can do because OP's already said in the beginning that she's going to therapy for it. But that's sad though. Imagine not having the love of your parent, and then now you have to cope with it by trying to make other people be your parent, or other people give you love, parental love. That's so sad. But no, I feel like OP stood her ground. It is what it is. You know, you're not her mother. She's not your daughter. Tell her to leave you alone.